Hello everyone, Tina here. Welcome to Tuesdays with Tina. My name is Tina Smith and I'm excited to share a project with you featuring some items from the Say It With Stamps collection. This one here is called Grad Day, with graduation being around the corner. I thought we would make a graduation card, and to make it extra special, we're going to pair it with some of the letters that are in the Uni Alphabet Die set. I think these two together will create a really fun graduation card. So we are going to jump in and get started. Let's start by doing our stamping first. So I am going to stamp a couple of the graduation hats, and then we'll do a little bit of coloring. I trimmed down a piece of my Color Me premium cardstock. If you haven't tried it, I suggest you give it a try. It's super smooth cardstock, and if you like to color with alcohol markers, it makes blending really easy. I just trimmed down a small piece. And again, this is the Color Me premium cardstock sheets. But we are going to just use an acrylic block to stamp a couple of our hats here. I think I got them to fit on here. And then for my sentiment, I'm going to take this out as well. This is the sentiment that says, "Hooray for you." We are going to stamp with some alcohol marker friendly ink, and I like that you can color in the graduation hats, because if you have a high schooler and you want to use the high school colors, you very well could. And I'm going to color my graduation hats with red ink. I'm going to zoom in and I'm going to play a little music while I color my hats in, and when I'm done coloring, I will get you back. Okay, coloring is all done. It's pretty simple coloring. And while we're die cutting, let me zoom back out. Now while we're die cutting, I'm going to go ahead and take some letters from our Uni Alphabet set. Now I wanted, the sentiment that I'm going to use says, "Hooray, you did it," but I want to add a little bit more to that by die cutting out hip twice. So our sentiment will say, "Hip, hip, hooray." I'm going to die cut out the letters HIP 3 times with white cardstock. We're going to layer them together for a little bit of dimension, and then I'm also going to die cut it out with some yellow cardstock. Once we have everything die cut, we're going to do a little bit of layering. I already layered 3 white letters to these, but we're going to do the same with these leftover letters. This really does add a lot of dimension to your dies. To do this, I'm just going to be using a little bit of glue. An alternative would be if you want to die cut this out with some fun foam. Fun foam would give you the dimension too. Now's the fun part. You just layer them on top. Let me zoom in a little bit here. You just layer them on top. Now I put glue on all of them just so it's a little bit faster, but of course you could do it just one at a time. And then you can add your colored letters right on top. And then our H is done here. And it gives us a lot of dimension. We're going to layer our P's. Okay, I'm just finishing up with our letters so we have some nice dimension on our letters. I'm going to put these off to the side and then we are going to create our background. I'm bringing in some dark cardstock and I want a tone on tone pattern in the background. This just going to give us a little extra detail on our card. Let's tape this down. The background stamp that I'm going to use is the Hello background, the Say It With Stamp's Hello background, and I'm just going to use my watermark ink to add a tone on tone to that navy blue. And of course you can do any color, which makes it really nice. I like to coordinate my graduation cards with the school colors. Just give that a good press. I love background stamps like this. And I'm thinking that looks pretty fabulous. I'm going to go ahead and lift this up. And while this is drying, my watermark ink is going to take a little bit of time to dry. I'm going to set this up here and then we're going to do a little bit more die cutting. I'm going to be using the notebook banners. I love the paper edge on this. I use it often. I'm going to die cut this out. I think paper goes good with graduation. And then I'm also going to use the border dies. This is the number 6 border die. There's a postage edge that I'm going to use and die cut out. We'll just go ahead and tape this down. And I'm going to run these through my die cut machine. Okay, we have our paper piece, our postage edge. Next, I'm going to take my watermarked panel. We're going to flip this around and add this. We're going to add this to our card base, which is a standard A2 size card base. It's top folding. Now that our tone on tone is adhered, we're going to take our papered edge and our spiral edge, and I'm going to directly adhere this down the middle of my card base, and I'm evenly spacing it all around. And I think that's going to work out good. I have a little overhanging. I'm going to trim that off with my scissors. And then next what we're going to do is, well, we're going to take our postage edge and I'm going to add it right above my paper. And then I have some craft colored corrugated cardstock. I'm going to use this as well. But I'm going to use my tape runner. And this is about 1/8 of an inch strip of corrugated. If you don't have corrugated cardstock, you could use craft cardstock. But I'm going to line this up and put that across my card base and we'll trim this off. And then I'm going to add a real thin bead of glue to my corrugated cardstock, and we're going to add this to our card base as well. We're going to put this just above the seam of our postage edge. I like textures on my card, and I think that's just going to add the right amount of texture. Okay, we have our graduation cats, and then we also have our hip hip and then our sentiment. I want to add a little bit of sparkle to my letters. I'm going to bring in some glitter dust. This is from Thermal Web, and it is a spray bottle, and they have different colors, but this is just going to add some iridescent shimmer to my letters. So I'm going to bring in my little cardboard box that I use for my sprayings, and we are going to go ahead and add our letters. And I'm going to shake this up really good. And we're going to add some sparkle to our hip hip. I'm doing this on camera, but I suggest maybe doing this outdoors or in a very well ventilated area. But I'm going to go ahead and take my letters. I went ahead and put glue behind each of my letters, and now we're going to evenly space them on our card here. The nice thing about glue is you have a little bit of wiggle room. And I'm just making sure that they're lined up nice and even. I'm going to go ahead and add foam adhesive behind our graduation caps. But before we adhere these, I do want to stamp the rest of my sentiment. I am going to be using Hooray You Did It, and I'm going to stamp this on the bottom with my black ink. And it stamps beautifully. And then we can remove the release paper off of our caps. Last but not least, I'm going to take some twine and I'm going to wrap it around the seam of my project here. I'm just going to be using my white twine to do this. And I'm going to tie a bow off to the left. We'll just secure that. Now you could skip this part if you don't want the bow on here. I think it still could be universal, even with the bow. We're going to trim the tails of our bow that we tied off to the left here. And then last but not least, I'm going to go over my graduation caps with my sparkle pen, just so it matches my alpha letters, my Uni Alphabet. And then that will finish my project for today. Nice universal graduation card. I hope you enjoyed my project. Thank you so much for joining me. Have a wonderful rest of your week, and we will see you soon. Bye-bye.